All right, it's the Pete Sousa Show. It is Wednesday, the day before Thanksgiving, one of my favorite days of the year. It is the day that the WKRP, the turkey drop was held. I mean, who didn't know the turkeys could fly? That was the infamous words of Art Carlson, dude, if I'm not mistaken. One of the best holiday episodes. That's probably the best Thanksgiving piece of entertainment ever made. I can't believe I didn't think about that yesterday when Cam and I were talking. We got Scotty Swingler here. We got Cam off in the corner. Zach Burke is here. Cam actually looks more miserable than most days, which has me sort of concerned. And he just asked someone for Tylenol, which is never a good sign. Cam's not a big party guy, but maybe he's just having a rough morning. And the little guy, he'll get through it. He's got a big weekend. He's got a big football game, Kansas Baylor. He's got a pregame show to do for that. And hey, it's Thanksgiving. We're happy to be here. I wanted to start off talking about, I'm dressed up today because I just had to record something, and it had to do, it was directly based around the Big 12. And after the college football rankings came out last night, Arizona State, there's 5 Big 12 teams in the top 25. I swear I'm not here to be like a Big 12 apologist. I just want to bring some facts to this because it's sort of freaking me out the way this thing is starting to move. And the way that it's starting to move is like, yo, if like there's a scenario that it's a long shot, but like the Big 12 couldn't, I mean, there is a path where there's no team that gets in, which is like kind of crazy. I mean, so can we bring up the top 25? Scotty, this was released last night. Boise State is ranked 11th overall. Arizona State is 16th. Now I think, let me get this right. There's 4 other Big 12 teams in the top 25. None of them obviously are higher than Arizona State. And it really appears now more than ever that the committee is valuing name recognition and past performance, like past performance, over actual performance. And it's worrisome. Again, I mentioned 5. They got 5 Big 12 teams in the latest top 25. But I want to start talking about Arizona State. The Sun Devils come in that poll, and they're ranked 16th when it's all said and done. They're 9-2. I just got to say this. They're 9-2 with 3 top 25 wins this season. Okay. But they're directly behind 2 3-loss SEC teams who have fewer ranked wins. Like that. So that's like something worth mentioning. They're also behind a 2-loss Clemson team that has only beat one team, with the winning record. Okay. And then you get to the Boise State argument, which is like, this is where it gets so simple for me. Okay. Boise State ranked 11th. Like I said, you have Arizona State, who are focusing on right now, who's ranked 16th. Arizona State beat the shit out of Wyoming earlier this year. Not like, oh, they kind of beat them. Like they beat Wyoming. Why? Because Wyoming's not a very good football team. I've seen Wyoming play, fortunately or unfortunately, in person like 3 times this year. They're not good. They're the kind of team, if you were to bet against Wyoming when their team has the ball and their quarterback is rolling around, they had this one kid, Sabota and somebody else, like you kind of like your odds. Like they could throw a pick 6. Like anytime the Wyoming offense has the ball, if you're the opponent, like you're okay, this could go okay for us. Like we might be able to score. So that is that's a real indicator. So I said Arizona State, back to the task at hand. Arizona State blasted Wyoming early in the year. And last week, Boise State barely beat Wyoming. I think it was 17-14. That's a current state of affairs type reflection. And I totally understand that we're all gassed up about Ashton Jeanty. He's so exciting. And he's playing in the Mountain West. It's similar to, and I was doing some just some reading on this because it interested me last night. So people are comparing this season to Barry Sanders' 1988 season. And I remember being a kid, I was like, that was interesting because Barry Sanders, actually, I remember Oklahoma State was pretty good that year. And they were really good. They lost 2 games. They lost to Nebraska and they lost to Oklahoma. This is playing in the old Big 8. They finished the season ranked 11th in the country. It must be said that the Big 8 was a conference. Like, there was no one mark. Colorado was starting to surge and get better. And so you look around the country and you see the Mountain West where Ashton Genty is having all this success. And I get it. It's exciting to see his team playing well. But that's a frustrating argument. Here's one more to the cherry on top. Forget about Pete waxing poetic about Barry Sanders, right? They have the 81st ranked strength of schedule. Boise State does. I mean, that should say a lot to you. And week in and week out, these teams in the Big 12 are beating the snot at each other. And so now I'm going to turn, I want Scotty Swingler to weigh in on this. Host of the Bear With Me podcast that's going to come back. Well, you are the host of the podcast, Scotty. Stop being so. I'm sick of your humility. All right, I'm kind of annoyed by it.
All right,
recently. I talked about your musical career. You couldn't have shut me down any faster.
Career, I wasn't in Wicked or something. I put out a rock and roll song.
Okay, you put out a rock and roll song. I tried to bring it up once, and you freaked out on me to the point where I was like, I'm never going to talk about Scotty's music career again unless I'm feeling comfortable enough to break his balls.
Listen to the song before you talk about it.
All right. So, why is the Big 12, in your opinion, getting? And I'm not saying that, it's a hardcore shaft. Like, dude, even if I was not affiliated with the conference and I was living in Philadelphia, I know that I would look at that top 25 and that playoff breakdown and be like, that's weird.
It would be really easy for me to say something like laziness, like watch the freaking football games, right? Like the idea that Tulane is sitting at 17, ready to pounce if we have one of these whack scenarios where like a Baylor gets into the championship game and an Arizona State and Iowa State fall off. And Tulane could make the playoff over whoever ends up winning the Big 12 is absurd. Yeah. Like that's a sign to me that they are not watching the football games. The fact that Arizona State and Iowa State are ranked below Alabama at this point is all about what you just said. Name brand. What did you do 3 years ago? I mean, it's not about what's on the field right now because Oklahoma sucks this year, and they just
destroyed them.
Cleaned house with Alabama. That was one of my picks for bets last week. I was like, Alabama minus 13 should be a lock. They got floored. I mean, I'm totally with you on the SEC bias is insane. I think, these committees, I wonder if they try to overthink it, right? Like, well, we can't move Alabama. They moved Alabama down 5 spots. Well, we'll move them down 5 spots for a loss instead of like kind of resetting every week and going, okay, we have watched these teams play. You've got some that are clearly deserving, Oregon, Ohio State, right? These very top teams, nobody's arguing. But once we get past like 5, even 4, I don't know that Penn State at 4. How is Penn State 4 and SMU is 9? I think if you watch both those teams play.
Can you pull up the playoff real quick one more time?
I think if you watch both those teams play, like you could easily say, I think SMU beats Penn State today. And I could be wrong, but why is a 1-loss SMU? Penn State has only played one good team. It was Ohio State, and they got killed.
I have a theory too about some of these bigger conferences, and just kind of hang in there with me as we look at the top 25. The SEC you talked about, Scotty, and like SEC bias. Alabama has like 3 losses, and the SEC is. I think you could argue, but the SEC clearly and the Big Ten are the 2 best conferences in the country. With the transfer portal and the way that things are working with NIL, and I'm hearing this from people involved with teams. Some of these big schools like Alabama, where the 3rd strong safety on the roster was still a 5-star guy that would show up on campus, figure out, I'm not going to play, and then you're kind of stuck. I mean, you're actually probably toughing it out and becoming calloused as a human being and actually becoming a better person and ultimately a better teammate. And you know, if you earn it, your turn will come playing on the field. But now it's if you show up, I'm a 5-star, I'm a 4-star, I'm not going to play. Well, I'm going to transfer somewhere else. And there is depth that these powerhouse teams used to have and these powerhouse conferences used to have that we're starting to see spread out throughout the country. And I think is leading to a lot more parity than people especially in those big conferences, care to acknowledge.
Yeah, I agree. And I just look at this, see Arizona State sitting there at 12. I think Arizona State tomorrow might beat Ohio State. Like, I don't think that's an insane take, even though Ohio State's ranked number 2. Okay.
I do. I think Arizona State will get crushed by Ohio State.
I don't.
Okay.
And,
that's great.
And even though Arizona State's ranked 16 and Ohio State's ranked 2.
I'm trying to figure it out because I watched Arizona State. I watched Cam Skattebo like run all over BYU. Like, if you actually watch that game, I would urge anybody to watch even the condensed version of the game. You can find it on YouTube. Like, his yards after it's crazy. Like, he is like, he's very, I hate to be the white guy comparing a white guy to another white guy, but I'm going to do it. It reminds me of a little bit like a Mike Allstott. Like, just like, boom, he absorbs contact and he just keeps going. He barrels into the secondary. He's faster than Mike Allstott, and he's probably a little thinner, but sorry, that's who I thought of. All right, any more thoughts about the college football playoff?
Sure. I think I've said this. I feel like every week we've done this, and I just think it remains true. If you're the Big 12, you have to win games in the postseason now.
Yeah.
So whether it's Arizona State or Iowa State sneaks in, you have to win that first round game. Yeah. Or everyone's, especially if you lose badly, if you lose by 3 scores, everyone's going to say, see, the Big 12 doesn't belong, right? But you have to win that first round game. And then I would say this, if you are the Big 12 and you've only got 1 team in while the SEC has 3 or 4, the Big 10 has 3 or 4, you know what else you need to do? You need to clean up all your bowl games as well. Yeah. Like, Baylor needs to go win a bowl game by 3 touchdowns, right? Yeah. Iowa State and BYU, if they are not the team to represent the playoff, needs to go win their bowl game by 3 touchdowns. Like, because that says, okay, look, we are cleaning house with the middle of these big conferences. So put our best against their best in the playoff. Maybe let's get 2 of these teams in here next season, right? But if you go into the bowl season and you bat 500 in bowl games, even though the SEC has 6 teams in the playoff, you're not helping yourself next season.
Yeah. So in some of the matchups, even you talk about this, like, you have to win in the playoff. Like, dude, that's a tough draw. If you're Arizona State playing at the Horseshoe in your first round playoff game,
it sucks. Yeah, you would want that first round bye, but Boise State, I think, has that pretty locked away at this point, unless they somehow lose to UNLV in the Mountain West.
That's
game, which is possible. UNLV is a good team.
Yeah, and I think that Boise State is sort of due. That showing against Wyoming really lets me know that, and maybe they went out and laid an egg. It happened, but I'm like, okay, this team is like moving towards like the Genty. The numbers have kind of gone down a little, like to a little more like human level,
right?
And I don't know.
But Pete, it is the cultural narrative to the point where, like, College Game Day is laughing about having to pick Big 12 games, that the Big 12 is subpar to these other conferences. So even if it's Arizona State and Ohio State, you cannot go out there and get beat bad. You can't. I mean, at minimum, I think you have to lose by a score. Yeah. And ideally, go win that game and shut some people up and say, okay, yes, Arizona State lost 2 games in the Big 12. And that was about the same as Ohio State losing a game or 2 in the Big 10, because these are both deep conferences. Like, you have to win. I mean, we're going to be really upset if we're sitting here.
So you truly do believe the Big 12 got hosed when you look at that? When you look at the rankings?
I think the perception that the Big 12 is a severe step behind the other 2 in talent is just false.
Yeah,
I think that's untrue. I think, like, for example, again, like put Kansas right now, not even a winning Big 12 team, against any middle SEC team,
like Mississippi State,
dude. I might pick Kansas over South Carolina right now, and they've got South Carolina ranked 15th.
Yeah.
But, like, I don't think there's this crazy talent discrepancy. I would agree.
I totally agree.
The premier programs and the top of the top are in those leagues. I mean, Oregon is the best team in the country this year. Georgia, despite their losses, has more talent than most people. Like, the SEC's got some of that. The Big Ten's got some of that. But the Wild, like, this league is like the standard, and the Big 12's like playing AA baseball is just not real. That's not reality.
And by the way, congratulations to college football and to ESPN, because we were all so in on this, like whether you like it or not.
It's a show.
And it's pretty cool. I mean, now here. If that were to, and it's not, it's going to get jumbled, but if that were to be a proper assessment of where we're going to be, right? That bracket we put up, how fun would that be? Arizona State at Ohio
And
State.
here's the chaos scenario is right now A&M's ranked 20th.
Yeah.
After losing this last weekend. If they beat Texas this week, which very possible, that rivalry coming back for the first time in a long time, don't count the Aggies out.
How many years, Zach, has it been since?
Yeah,
wow,
13 years.
Yeah. That's going to be crazy.
I think that's correct.
Yeah.
If A&M beats Texas this weekend, A&M jumps Texas to get into the SEC championship. Wow. So imagine this scenario. A&M beats Texas. So what do you now do with a Texas team that lost to the only two great teams they played, right? Georgia and then A&M. Then A&M goes and plays in the SEC championship against Georgia. What happens when they beat Georgia? So you'd have a 3-loss SEC champion, Texas A&M, a 2-loss Texas that lost to A&M and didn't even make the game, a 3-loss Georgia who made the game. Like that would just be chaos all around for the playoff. And it's going to be fun. It makes it exciting.
I got one question for you. So I'm going to, we've gone over, so I'm going to just ask you this one thing. So Shawn Bell means a lot to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, tell me why. So he got named the OC.
It's a little bit of a story, but I can condense it.
Yeah.
So
I just saw Swingler tweeting about Shawn Bell.
Yeah, so Shawn Bell's the OC at Houston. He played quarterback at Baylor.
Yeah.
So Shawn Bell, when I was in kindergarten, my kindergarten teacher was out the first 6 or 7 weeks of kindergarten with a family deal, and I had a sub, Becca Bell, who is Mark Bell's wife, and he was the new AD at the school. And she said, hey, y'all should come out to the football game tonight. My son's making his first start. Shawn Bell was a freshman, starting quarterback for China Spring High School. Kindergarten and first grade, he was my Cougar big brother. So the varsity team would adopt like elementary kids and like hang out with us or like talk to us about football and stuff. And so Shawn Bell was my Cougar big brother. Then as I was in elementary school, I got to watch him play at Baylor. I was at the game when he completed a 2-point conversion to beat number 13 Texas A&M in double overtime. Yeah. I found him on the field after that game. I think I was in 3rd or 4th grade. I found him on the field and he gave me a hug and picked me up. And then actually, I'll save this for another segment. Yeah. There is proof. I am the reason Shawn Bell got hired to coach at Baylor under Matt Rule.
Now we're talking.
That can be a segment next time.
Yeah, but we will revisit. You had an impassioned tweet about, or X, whatever, and I was like, I got to ask Scotty about that.
I may or may not have helped Shawn get back to Baylor to coach, and so I'm a big fan. He's a friend, like mentor, long time.
I love it.
All-time good guy too. So
the Scotty Swing Away Collective is already thriving right now. All right, we're gonna do some picks. It's almost Thanksgiving, which means we got to be grateful. We're grateful for the success we've had so far this year. Let's find out if we're going to be grateful for the success we have this week. All in bets coming up with Corey Dickman.
It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports Pete.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at a stop. I thought I was fine, and then once I got home, I realized it's a lot worse than I thought. I ended up having a ruptured disc. You say you're not hurting, and then an hour later, you're saying you're in all this pain. I just felt like most people would think that I was lying. And that's when I decided to call Daniel Stark. I owe a lot to Daniel Stark. They really got me what I deserved.
The difference is stark.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down, to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning, so we love Extraco.
all is right with the basketball world. God's gift to the game of basketball, the Boston Celtics are back in the NBA Finals, baby. I don't think the Mavs did anything special. They played well enough to win and win pretty good. You know what I mean? I thought the Celtics didn't show up to play at all, and maybe if they showed some fight in the second half, they would have lost by 15 or so. Is he in the Red Sox Team Hall of Fame?
He is also in the Red Sox Hall of Fame.
Something about this guy being in the Team Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I did.
So,
Deserving, man.
which seems like it fits.
Sports.
I dressed up for this, and I don't want to be dressing up for my own funeral. So let's make it happen this week. Corey Dickman, all in bets. I've gone all in with this guy all season long, and I've been doing pretty well. Truth be told.
Pete,
Truth be told.
you know, we're in this. You just said it. You're on the ride with me. We're in this all in bets relationship together, you and I, right? And it's a binding relationship, right? The good and the bad, through sickness and in health, you know, till death do us part. Did we agree to that?
Or till debt do us
Or
part.
till death do us part.
Yeah.
Well, you know what, Pete? You know, we started this college season off on an 0-3 start.
Yes.
You know, it sucked. There's the infamous clip of you telling me don't even do it anymore. And, you know, it hurt my feelings, but we kept going. And we've come full circle because this was not a great week here in college for us. Before we dive in, this puts it all in together into one clip. This shows you basically what happened this week. Scotty, play the clip for us.
He should probably get more mention for the Heisman Trophy. Oh, breakaway. Henderson gallops, and he slides down. What an unselfish play right there. That was unbelievable. So smart. Holy. Take a knee. And he'll run it and score. Ohio State adds another touchdown, this one late.
So Pete, I don't know if you're watching the broadcast. I was with my family in Houston.
With my family. I'd love to see
I love
how
my
that's going.
my father-in-law is incredible, smartest man I know. And he was like, as Henderson was running free for the touchdown to destroy the over under that I had at under 51.5. He said, he'll slide. So
he knows football.
He slid. And then these announcers, Pete, are just showering Henderson with praise. What a smart play. Honorable guy. This team, they said this Ohio State team is just so above reproach and just,
Gus Johnson and Joe Clark.
all this stuff, right? I'm sitting there and they're running back in with that freaking Howard. And I'm like, oh no, it didn't look like a take a knee deal. They do one play, didn't get it, and then they go back in and get that stupid touchdown. It was just dishonorable. I hate Ohio State. I can't believe they did that. And don't praise them for being all like, oh, above reproach, and they still
did it.
Punch it in because, you know, and Pete, I'm not even joking. They go back to the sideline, and I bet you that coaching staff was like, hey, if we score here, we'll hit the over. You know, like we want to be over. Like let's
There's
get
no way. Cool.
Let's get
There's
something
no
more.
way.
This sports betting stuff, Pete. It's on the sidelines. So anyway,
I got to keep you honest here.
We lose that bet in heartbreaking fashion, which just set up the rest of the weekend. Saturday was just awfulness. You know, we had Colorado -2.5. What happened, Pete? I mean, this Kansas team. Tell me, what they get crushed. I mean, Colorado gets
Kansas
crushed.
Got ahead early, and Colorado wasn't able to do what they do best, which is get after the passer.
Mm-hmm.
And so they couldn't stop the run all game long. No opportunities to create turnovers or anything crazy. And I was with you. I had a sneaking suspicion it could happen, but I was rooting for Colorado.
Yeah. Well, I thought the 2.5 was going to be easy for them to.
So Kansas beat you two weeks in a row.
I hate Kansas. We're coming back to Kansas later.
Yeah.
And then Boise State, you know, had the opportunity to just lay the smackdown on Wyoming, and maybe they just didn't care. Maybe Boise State just thought, hey, we just need to win this game and we'll still be the 4 seed and it's fine. And so they won by 4. We had them at -22.5. So not even close. Right. So
yeah.
Not good. I'm going to own it. We're here. You know, you always say we got face the music. So our overall record is 18-14-1 right now.
Hey, we're still making money.
Still above 500. We're still making money. We're not at that 60% mark, but we're going to get back to it. I have 2 honorable mentions of just this weekend of college football. I have to say it. Our boy Scotty, maybe selected OU Bama and asked why I didn't go that route. And I said Bama was going to lay over. I didn't feel it. And they got demolished. So Scotty. Oh, I don't know what happened. Okay, he's putting his thumb down. And then I'll eat crow when I have crow. Our boy Dan Ingham, we're going back and forth a little bit. Hedges. And I'm sure Dan felt good about himself because he hedged there, but a little part of him had to feel sad.
Yes, a little part of him definitely has felt sad all year long.
So I had to throw that out. So anyway, that was college. The NFL, there was some redemption, not fully, but some redemption. We went 2-0 in our game picks, which was great. We hadn't done that in a little bit. So we're 14-13 in the season now. We're now above 500. So you've made money. The two games we picked, the Bucks -5.5 over the Giants, just ran all over them. It wasn't even close. I think it was 30-0 at some point, Pete. Are the Giants getting relegated?
The Giants should get relegated.
They just get relegated. They're a mess.
So awful. So it's just such a bummer. Yes, for the New York and for football.
Yeah. And every 70-yard touchdown run that Saquon Barkley has to just drill it into the Giants.
I'm an Eagles fan, and I have Saquon on my fantasy team. Like, I couldn't love Saquon anymore, and I feel bad for Joe Shane, the GM of the Giants, because this is so awful.
Oh, it's terrible.
Yeah.
The other game, which, again, comfortable, was Seahawks, plus they were underdogs in this. I said this was blasphemy last week. +1.5 against Arizona at home in Seattle. And Seattle wins it comfortably. Yes. Now, there were some close plays. Kyler had some turnovers. Could have gotten a little closer there. But Geno he made one interception because it's Geno Smith. But typically, and it was in the red zone, but who's counting? But we win the game. So the Seahawks covered there. We go 2-0. The mortgage, we didn't hit the mortgage. I'm just going to own it. We didn't hit the mortgage. Kansas City didn't just let me down. They let probably everybody down that had them at 9.5. We had them at 5.5 in the tees. They won by 3, which was a little embarrassing. And then, the Rams, Pete, I thought the Rams were going to show up a little bit more. And Philly Saquon just literally ran all over them.
He did,
annihilated them. And that got pushed up to, they won by like 17. So, and I had them at 7.5. So we didn't hit the mortgage, but we are 5-4 on the mortgage. So the NFL, Pete, we're floating in the water. Our head is above right now, right? We're not drowning anymore, but we got to make plays this week, right?
Let's do it.
This is Separation Saturday, Separation Sunday. What do we call it?
Separation Turkey Day.
Turkey Day.
Special
There
days.
you go. Turkey Trio Day. Okay. You had mentioned a sponsor last week.
Yes.
Right? Okay. Are we ready? Underdog Fantasy. Okay. It's a fantasy app. Scotty, why don't you throw that up here real quick? Underdog is our sponsor here as we wrap up the rest of the season. If you're not familiar with Underdog, it's a legal app that you can download. You can win real money. There are 5 million underdogs here. Scotty's panning through. These are all the states it's legal in. You see the great state of Texas right there. If you listen to us from other states, maybe you're on there. So go check it out. Underdog, you can sign up with an account. Use promo code. Now, we partner with our good friends at 365 Sports. And so our promo code is 365 Sports. That's sports with an S. You do that promo code, you get $1,000. Geez Louise, in bonus picks. And then you get a free pick. So if you lose it, you don't lose any money. So just use that promo code 365 Sports.
Dude, I'm done. I'm going to change. I'm on Prize Picks. I'm getting off.
Let's go. Underdog. Yeah. So I have one for you here real quick. You don't have to do this one with me, but Underdog lets you go. It's basically parlays, right? It's three team or 3 leg all the way up to an 8 leg. If you get 8 selections correct, you get 200 times your money. It's like, what? That seems crazy to me. That's going to be very hard to hit. But I like that they do this thing called insurance. And so you can pick a 4-leg parlay, which is what I did here. And if you miss one, if you selected that, you actually still can win money, which is pretty cool. So this was mine. I chose because Pete, I didn't know when, the Turkey Trio, we called it the Turkey Trio on the Benjamin Betts podcast. And every year it got Jared and I in trouble. I don't know what it was. I think the tryptophan, the stuffing, it just was. So we skipping it. I'm skipping it. We're going Black Friday game.
Let's go.
Okay, Chiefs against the Raiders. This is the underdog pick here. Xavier Worthy, over 32.5 yards. Psh, that's one pass.
Love it.
That's one pass.
Love it.
Brock Bowers, the only weapon for the Raiders, the only guy on that team that can do anything, over 59.5 yards. Come on, that man's going to have 100 yards in this game.
I like it.
Okay. Patrick Mahomes, over 24.5 completions. So just get the completions to Noah Gray, to Travis Kelce, P. Ryan, just little dump downs. He's going to have high completion in this game. And then Noah Gray, this is the risky one. Noah Gray, the other tight end. Okay, not the one with Taylor Swift, the other one.
Yeah, we say his name a lot.
Dude, he's killing it. 2 touchdowns last 2 games. I picked him to get a touchdown in this game. A nice little trick play to Noah Gray. All those hit, Pete, that's 24 times my money. I get $100 in, 2,400 out if those 4 things hit.
See, now you're getting me swept away because that sounds pretty good.
Dude, that's good money. Now, if you pick the insurance, if you go the insurance route, I can miss one of those 3. It can be any one of the 4. If I miss one of the 4, I still get 4 times my money.
Wow. Okay.
So I put 100 in, I still get $400.
How much is the insurance?
You don't pay, you just click it. It just limits how much you can win. So if you get all 4 correct, if you select insurance, instead of 24 times your money, it's only 14 times your money.
That's a great, okay.
But hey, man,
good explainer.
I will take the insurance there.
Okay.
So Xavier Worthy, Brock Bowers, Patrick Mahomes, Noah Gray. Ride it, baby. Ride it.
All right, let's get to the college.
Okay, here we go. College, Friday night game. I call this payback. They owe me here. This team owes me. And maybe Ingham probably will be on this train too. Colorado, Pete, minus 16.5. Home game against Oklahoma State, who has nothing to play for. And what I like here for Colorado, I'm picking them minus 16.5. If you look at the standings of the Big 12 right now, do you know them off the top of your head?
Yeah.
Right? If you're 6-2, you're in first place.
Yeah.
Everyone's in first place. Colorado gets first stab at this. So they're not scoreboard checking. I don't even want to know what all the tie scenarios are, Pete. You probably know what they are off the top of your head.
250.
250. Well, you know what? None of those matter Friday night or Friday at 11 a.m. Colorado just wins, and then the rest settles. So that tells me they're going to blow out Oklahoma State. If they were the night game Saturday and all the other teams had won and Colorado had no chance, don't give me this. But because it's Friday night, and I think Dion, he going to get into them based on how they played at Kansas or against Kansas. Give me 16.5. It's a great number, 16.5, 2 touchdowns and a field goal get us there. And Oklahoma State, I mean, there's those players that probably already transferred at this point or whatever they're doing. So I like it. Colorado, roll Buffalo. Is that what they say? Go Buffs?
Go Buffs.
Go Buffs, 16.5.
What do they say, Cam? Sko Buffs.
Sko Buffs in Boulder, Colorado.
Sko Buffs. All right, we gotta get some pacing going.
All right, South Carolina at Clemson. Clemson minus 2.5. They can see some light at the tunnel here. Maybe make the playoff if they sneak in. They're 12th in the country. South Carolina SEC team. Clemson minus 2.5. Give me Clemson.
You like Clemson?
I like Clemson. South Carolina. They're frauds. They're frauds. Clemson. They're not frauds. Wins by a field goal. And then I'm repping. I wore my shirt. Payback against stupid Kansas. Kansas at BU.
Why are you betting Kansas
at
again?
Baylor. We're going to win the 8th game. We're underdogs here at a 1.5. Give me Baylor. 1.5 points. Kansas. I'm getting you, Kansas.
You know, Scotty,
I'm getting you, Kansas.
I have experience with people that have drug problems, and they say insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result.
Also, I'm a Baylor fan, and I think that's a bad bet.
And by the way, I did a whole segment on this show about how Kansas is like Omar from The Wire. You don't want to see Kansas coming for you.
Well, you know what? Kansas, I get it. They win. They make a bowl game. No one cares about bowl games anymore. Bowl games are irrelevant. No one cares. Baylor, we're going to win this game.
Right,
1.5.
This is why they play the game.
1.5 is why they play the game. I like that everyone's against us. It actually makes me feel good right now. I think we're on the right track. Okay, NFL, we'll go quick. Pittsburgh at Cincinnati. Cincinnati, let's go. Minus 2.5. They're favored. They have a terrible record. Pittsburgh has a great record. It's at Cincinnati. Joe Burrow, do I have to go on? Minus 2.5. This is Cincinnati's season.
Yeah,
they're going to win this game, divisional game.
They need. I think that Cincinnati is sort of like almost compare them to Kansas. Like they have so many weapons and they're so talented, and the record doesn't make sense. That's all I'm saying.
It doesn't make sense. Yeah, it doesn't make sense. The Bucks going to at Carolina. The over-under here is 46.5. Carolina puts up 27 points against a pretty good Kansas City defense. The Bucks can score points on anybody. 46.5 feels very low to me in this game. Give me over 46.5. I believe in Baker. And then our mortgage bet. This one feels solid to me. We need redemption here. I studied this hard. We're gonna pick two favorites, and we're gonna get their point totals down or their spreads. Browns at Broncos. Rolling right 5.5 against the Browns. This is a home game in Denver. We get them at -1 here, Pete. After we tease this, so give me Broncos just to win. This is not your dad's 49ers team. This isn't even your 49ers team.
Do you know that I heard a stat on Sunday that they had been favored in like 22 consecutive regular season games?
Was it that many?
Something ridiculous.
I don't doubt it. I mean, every NFC West game they've probably been favored in for the last few years.
And it speaks to the ability to have been taking advantage of what you're talking about.
100%.
Yeah.
So 49ers at Bills. Bills are favored by only 6.5, which I'm a little baffled by. We're getting that down to -2. So Bills just win by a field goal. I think the Bills are going to be that team that runs away here at the end of the season.
Okay.
They're going to be the hot team going into the playoffs. So they're going to win this game. They're going to put the Niners in the ground. They're done. So that's our mortgage. Broncos -1, Bills -2. Put that together in your two-team teas. Pay your mortgage. And I'm sorry about last week that we didn't.
What are we overall with NFL?
Overall, 14-13. So we're above 500 now.
We're winning.
And then 5-4 in the mortgage. So we're still up. So you know, all of the naysayers here, we're above 500 in all three categories that we bet every week here on the Pete Sousa Show, sponsored by Rogue Sports.
By the way,
with our sponsor Underdog.
This is this segment's getting traction, so I appreciate you taking the time.
Here we go. Sick 'em Bears. Sick 'em Bears.
Rock Chalk Jayhawk.
No, Rock Chalk nothing.
All right, we'll be back after this.
It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports, Pete.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at 70 miles an hour. I was injured, had a concussion. The insurance company, they delayed. They were playing games from the initial conversation. They weren't going to help me. The biggest thing I learned through this is that you can't go through this alone. I called Daniel Stark. They were going to help me, and everything was going to be all right. Daniel Stark got me 10 times the insurance company offered.
The difference is stark.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down, to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning. So we love Extraco.
You are here with your shoot first point guard, Corey Dickman.
Also, if you're not creating new fans in a small market, then you're not creating that base of people to go to games and pay for merchandise and pay for stuff and concessions at the Moda Center and yada yada.
Yeah, let's talk draft. That's the only thing we have to look forward to.
The only thing we have to look forward to. That's what I will teach my son. You will teach your daughter as Blazers fans. It's like, look, the two most exciting times of the year for us are the draft lottery and the draft itself. Like, here we are. This is our thing. Give me some memories and thoughts. I know you had mentioned the first time you had met Bill. What were some of those first memories that came back when you heard the news?
Sports.
We decided who was going into the Baseball Hall of Fame last week.
Now it seems like honestly, like Cam decided. We didn't.
And
have
now I was not like you guys. Your guys' ballots were closer to the actual result than mine was.
Yeah,
true. So
I think I updated Cam earlier of the public ballots that are out there. The three guys that are so far going into this class this year are Billy Wagner, Ichiro Suzuki, and CC Sabathia. So
I picked two of those.
I picked one.
Well, let's just blame me, right?
I picked all three.
Anyway, so Rogue Sports team is going to now continue their duty. I mean, people have been thanking us for our service left, right, and center.
Saving America.
Comments, emails, people on the streets. They're like, thank you for doing this for baseball and therefore for our great nation. And so I said, well, I guess we're going to have to do this with football as well. We have semifinalists. So we'll probably revisit this when there are actual finalists. But a list of 25, I have set the cap on 5 for us. And I'll just put out this one kind of, not ground rule. There's no rules to this. But the way I'm going to look at it is you don't have to say, oh, well, this is this guy's last year on the ballot, so I'm going to put him in. Like, you don't have to do that. Let's be independent of that. But if you want to say, hey, this guy is a Hall of Famer, but it's just going to be down the line because I only have 5, then you can do that because we're only picking 5, unlike baseball. So does anyone want to start? How do we want to do this?
I don't mind going first.
Go first, Zach Burke.
So there are guys on the list that I could see going down, like you talked about. Like Reggie Wayne was a name for me that eventually is a Hall of Famer. He's just not on one of my top 5. Same with a guy like Rodney Harrison, who I think is for sure a Hall of Famer, just not on my 5 right now. My 5 right now, I had made a point or a case for Torrey Holt a couple months ago when we did a Guys Naming Dudes, but because we inducted him into Guys Naming Dudes, I put him, he'll be a semifinalist again and not going in. He's not one of the 5. Here are my 5.
That's a good way to think about it.
The one wide receiver that had to get in out of the bunch to me, Steve Smith. I think Steve Smith is the wide receiver that from this class that out of the rest of them deserves to be in there.
I should also mention this too. We went big into the stats, some of us, for baseball. We're
going
not
more,
doing that
yeah.
with this just because of the time thing. So it's a lot of vibes here.
That is,
Scotty
I am
his research. The rest of us,
I have the stats to back up my list. I'll just say that.
Okay. I think the 3 of us are gonna be like, that's a Hall of Fame guy, Hall of Fame career.
Yeah, I kind of went off
open about that.
Off vibe. One of his teammates that he played with that is also a Hall of Famer is Luke Kuechly on my list here for 5. I'm going to stay defense and pick up a Patriot and at least a Houston Texan for a little bit. I think Vince Wilfork was one of the most dominant defensive tackles there has been in a long time, and I think he deserves to be in. And we're going to continue to maybe not pick everybody thought. I think Adam Vinatieri gets in. He's going to be the 6th kicker, and the reason I put that is because look through the history of the league, there is nobody that fits that same way. And the other 5 might have the Hall of Fame on that same level as Adam Vinatieri. I think the career puts him. It's not a position you pick a lot, but he's definitely done a lot. And then my last one, Marshall Yan from the Baltimore Ravens, because I'm a big guy and I like seeing guys get in. And the late great Gil Brandt had him listed as his 11th best guard in NFL history.
Oh, that's a great little nugget there.
In NFL history, with the other guys ranked after him, including somebody like Steve Hutchinson, who's already in the NFL Hall of Fame, ranking lower than Yandel. So those are my
guys
5.
like Zach to get guards in, so that's cool.
Hey, I played both sides of the line. I love the big boys. Without those guys on both sides of the line, football doesn't happen. So
I would like to go next.
Please.
And then we can let our 2 distinguished hosts, the talent, go and have Here's the thing. I said there were 3 of the 5 that I think should be no-brainers. And Zach, you got 2 of them. So Kuechly's a no-brainer. I think he's the best middle linebacker since Ray Lewis. I don't think there's any question. To me, Vinatieri is a no-brainer. He's the all-time leading scorer in the sport. I don't think you can say there's anyone that has a better argument for best kicker of all time, best at his position. Vinatieri is a shoo-in. For me, the 3rd guy that has to get in, and I'm shocked you didn't mention him, and I put him in above Steve Smith, who would have been my first one out, is Antonio Gates. He has the most touchdowns of any tight end in NFL history. He changed the position. He started the wave of, I played basketball, so I can play tight end in the league. He's a legend. The other 2 for me, Darren Woodson is overdue. He's the Cowboys' all-time leading tackler. He's a true hybrid safety who could play the run and the pass. He needs to be in there. And then for me, it's James Harrison. It's James Harrison. And it's because he is the only undrafted player to ever win the AP Defensive Player of the Year. And he made perhaps the greatest play in Super Bowl history, the longest play from scrimmage in Super Bowl history, with his return of a pick against Kurt Warner.
Amazing.
Kurt Warner, a Hall of Famer.
Yep.
Right. Picked him off, ran it back 100
Probably
yards.
one of the best Super Bowls of all time.
One of the best Super Bowls. Perhaps the game. I mean, when we look back at that game, perhaps the most pivotal play in that game, James Harrison got my 5th. My first 2 out, though, Zach, were Steve Smith and Vince Wilfork.
I'll just add on
those are good picks.
Antonio Gates. He was on my short list too, so I get that.
It's a really good list.
It was John
Malcolm
Madden's
Butler made
last
the best
game
play
at
in Super
Super
Bowl
Bowl.
history, but
All right.
that is a great list. That is a great- those are all
Okay.
Zach, I'm still figuring out.
I'm ready to go.
All right, that's fine. I told you I wanted to be a little different.
I'm surprised, by the way, so far, I'm surprised how similar we've been. The top of my list was Adam Vinatieri. I think that's one of the most underrated positions in football, and he's easily one of the best ever to do it. There's just no question about that. I have Steve Smith as well. Steve Smith, just the way, not only was he like a stat stuffer, but he was a total winner. Like everybody, when he was a rookie, he punched a teammate in a film session. I don't remember, he got suspended. So he was a kick returner primarily. But yeah, Steve Smith was a great teammate after he stopped kicking people's ass. And he was a big play guy. Antonio Gates. How do you stop Antonio Gates? Really, I mean, it was he was one of the first guys that was like, and like you said, he was he changed the game. You know, he really did. Yep. A transitional player for the NFL. Here's where it gets controversial. I have Eli Manning going in. I do. I think
you wasted one of your 5
no.
ballot, Eli Manning.
I think there is something to be said about winning a Super Bowl and winning 2 Super Bowls and finding a way to win. It's not like, look.
By the way, this is why you asked about which ballot we're going off of, because it's like, can I Veterans Committee Jim Plunkett in here?
I think where there are guys like Dan Marino, who I do think it's bullshit that he gets ripped for not winning a Super Bowl. There's also guys like Eli Manning, where winning a Super Bowl is what it's all about. You win 2 as the quarterback, by the way, and I know Cam's going to freak out, in New York. So I got news for you guys. If you don't like this, he's going to get in.
No. He's going to get in
because he wanted New York.
I mean, you can use like, hey, he beat the Patriots both times.
Like that's a hell of an accomplishment, man.
I
like
think
that you could use.
Try winning in New York. It's a pressure cooker.
I know, but like, okay, so that's better than winning
as the quarterback.
Like,
no, I'm just there's the little asterisk next to that.
He's going to get in. There's just no way he's in the top 5 most deserving on this list.
No, but I can tell you a lot of the research I did just looking at other people's lists, he's a lot for most people to get in, which I didn't have him on my short list.
And I thought about it too. This just to wrap this up with the final thought. I did think, even last night I honestly forgot to watch it, but I get a kick out of the Manning cast, and I'm like,
great.
Yeah. So I was like, make sure you're not in love with the Eli Manning, and that's why you're putting him in. No, I really like Eli Manning.
Well, let's clear the air here. Are you in love with Eli Manning?
No, but I am wearing a 3/4 zip. Right? Is that what this is? Yeah, quarter zip.
You look like
all right.
Manning.
Final one. For who? For what? Ricky Williams. Ricky Williams. Ricky Waters. Sorry.
Real conviction there.
Now for a second, I was like, hold on. Did I miss?
Heisman Trophy.
Did I miss? I support the Ricky Waters.
Ricky Waters, okay? Ricky Waters was such a dynamic dual threat. He ran angry. He was on teams that won. He won a Super Bowl in San Francisco. He was on a lot of good Eagles teams. And I remember him as being such a threat running and catching that he was always so dangerous. And that is a guy, to what Cam's saying, that I'm going totally off my vibe here.
No, that's vibe-wise.
And for those of you who don't know the story, the Eagles, in his first year after signing a huge contract with the Eagles, in his first game, they were playing the Buccaneers. The Eagles were getting killed, and a pass was thrown to Ricky Williams, and he short-armed it. And they were like, hey, Ricky, do you know the story? Ricky Waters.
Yeah.
And Ricky Waters. And he short-armed it, right? Like, so after the game, they were like, hey, Ricky, like, there was that pass in the 4th quarter you clearly didn't lay out for it. Is there a reason why? And he said, for who? For what? And right away, he was like the bane of Philly fans' existence. But, of course, he won us over with great play.
I think he's the only one who's had a quote that's probably kept him out.
Like, seriously, people remember
for one.
Yeah, that's a great call, Cam. Yeah.
A lot like Roger Craig, who is also not in the Hall of Fame.
Oh, Roger Craig was a menacing back, man. Catching passes, too. Yeah.
James White.
A lot of cocaine. Very good.
Not James White. Like, You're having a lot of trouble here.
Go ahead. Keep going.
It's,
All right.
It's the whole thing we were talking about of players with the same names before we got into the segment.
Pete's just giving them the same name. I don't know. Anyway, my 5. This first one I have argued for on this show. I did a whole segment about it in the summer, so I can't go any further without saying Rodney Harrison.
Okay.
Hall of Fame. Most sacks all time by a defensive back.
I'm cool with that.
Didn't need to look that one up. It's right up here. Number 2, Boston College legend, Luke Kuechly. Yeah. Just a monster, man. Could do anything on a football field.
What? Rookie?
My God, he could have ran the offense.
Did he also, was it Rookie of the Year, and then the next year he was Defensive Player of the Year? Or did he win them both the same
Within
year?
short order.
Yeah, it was
Within
very short.
order. Short career. It's too bad he didn't win that Super Bowl. Mainly because it just gave Peyton Manning another one. Speaking of the Carolina Panthers, put Steve Smith in there. I just like that dude was never appreciated enough because most of the time the Panthers stunk. I know Pete thinks he's a big winner, but he did not win a Super Bowl, and most of the time the Panthers stunk, and he stuck with them. It's kind of like what Dame Lillard did with the Blazers if he had never left. Like there's a certain respect for that, and was just a dog, man. Like was
I
not
feel
the
like Dame
biggest,
Lillard
was
gets more
not
credit
the
than he
fastest,
does.
and he was an absolute dude, like a possession receiver, big play receiver. Love Steve Smith. Love Steve Smith. Number 4 is number 4. The greatest clutch kicker of all time, Adam Vinatieri. Did we all have Adam Vinatieri?
We all had Adam Vinatieri.
Oh, and Steve Smith? We all had you. Oh, he was first out.
Steve
Okay.
Smith.
He would be first out for me.
So Vinatieri is the only unanimous ballot guy we have so far.
Yeah.
Yeah. And is he the greatest kicker of all time, pure skill wise? Actually, probably not. But the clutch kicks. I mean, you can't. And he played for freaking like 30 years. Like you can't knock that. And the clutch kicks that he had, winning Super Bowls with 2 different franchises, putting together clutch kicks for 2 different franchises, played more for the Colts than he did for the Patriots.
He has the
no
most
doubt.
points in the sport.
All-time leading scorer.
Put his bust up there.
That's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I'm going to Vinatieri. Now, this one was really tough. Really tough. And this is why I had to lean on, maybe this guy's not a first ballot. He'll get in down the line. But Vince Wilfork is arguably the greatest nose tackle ever to play. But that said, I can't sit here and say I need Rodney Harrison in the Hall of Fame without saying we also need Darren Woodson in the Hall of Fame.
Good man over there.
Because John Lynch is already in, and I think both of these guys are better than John Lynch. John Lynch, great player, deserved Hall of Famer, great box safety. But Darren Woodson is one of the best coverage safeties in the history of the league. In fact, you want to talk about changing the position at tight end with Antonio Gates. What did Darren Woodson do for these safeties, man? Safeties were guys who weren't quick enough to be corners. And now you still see that, but safeties are big-time athletes. You're using first-round picks on safeties, because of their coverage. Darren Woodson's a big part of that. So is Rodney Harrison. God, I love Rodney Harrison.
So was Eric Turner. God rest his soul.
Yes.
Second pick in the draft.
Yeah. I love Rodney Harrison. So I'm going to put Wilfork in there next year.
All right, fine.
So, and probably Antonio Gates too. But anyway, Rodney Harrison, Darren Woodson, Adam Vinatieri, Steve Smith, and Luke Kuechly. Congratulations. You will get outfitted for a Rogue Media Sports gold jacket, which will be just a little bit more piss-colored than the Pro Football Hall of Fame, as if to not get sued. Anyway, any parting thoughts? Anyone been to Canton?
Yeah, I have.
Really?
Yeah. Hall of Fame
when
game.
you got inducted?
No. Yeah. I was
I'd like to go. I love the.
I was pretty messed up on drugs at the time, but I was there. I was there for the. I actually watched a movie. I actually watched a movie. There was a guy named Travis Jervey who was a kick returner for the 49ers.
Yeah.
He played with the Packers. So I watched a movie with Jervey and this other guy, Jim Nagy, who's now the director for the. Yeah, it's crazy memory. We watched American Psycho, the 3 of us. And then, Jervey played that
at the Hall of Fame.
Well, no, in
Okay.
Canton, a Jervis hotel room, and then after the game, they played the Patriots. It was Tom Brady's, I think, first game. It was fall of 2000. Yeah, so that would make sense, right?
He came in during the Thanksgiving game in 2000. His first game start would have been fall of 2001.
Okay, so
September
yeah,
23rd.
okay, yeah, he wasn't even on the team yet. Yeah,
He would have been a rookie in 2000. But
yes.
anyway, Pete, Scotty, Zach, we have pushed it up against the clock.
Yeah.
We hope you guys have a great Thanksgiving holiday. Okay, we've already told you, but we really hope that you have a great Thanksgiving and that you're thankful for us because we're thankful for you.
But Tom Brady played in the Hall of Fame game, so it was his
Yes,
first
he
game.
did.
Okay, well, why did you? I asked you a question,
talking about?
and you had to razzle dazzle
Well, you
it
did
with all
fall,
this Patriots
so
lingo.
Well,
Sorry,
the Hall of
Cam.
Fame game would have been the summer, and yes, he did play in that game against Giovanni.
Yeah, okay, thanks. No,
You did you I
was at the Hall of Fame game. I said that.
I didn't hear that implication.
Yeah.
Maybe that's my bad. You were talking about watching American Psycho.
It's just
So that was the day of the game, and then
Dad.
after the game, Mark Megna introduced me to Willie McGinnis. He said this was the greatest player of all time, which was obviously not true, but very.
Yeah, it's not that hard. Hall of Fame. We'll see you Monday.
It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports, Pete.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at a stop. I thought I was fine, and then once I got home, I realized it's a lot worse than I thought. I ended up having a ruptured disc. You say you're not hurting, and then an hour later, you're saying you're in all this pain. I just felt like most people would think that I was lying. That's when I decided to call Daniel Stark. I owe a lot to Daniel Stark. It really got me what I deserved.
The difference is stark.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down, to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning. So we love Extraco.
I mean, yeah, a new coach comes in, they're going to turn the roster. I think that's just we've got all these transfer portal stats and what Dion did and what Fritz has done. I mean, that's the deal, man. That's the game that's being played nowadays.
Maybe a little bit unknown at quarterback. I mean, unknown to the rest of the world, but you know, he dove into the portal and got a guy who is super, super athletic.
South Dakota State's really good. Give us a little bit of breakdown about what they can do and what Oklahoma State needs to be worried about.
But look at that form right there. I need to say nothing else about this because I found one.
It is Matt Mosley, and it's the Obstructed View podcast, Rogue Media Network. I think they're learning that there's really no wonderful view of me. See, I feel like they think this feed's going to be really wonderful.
There must have been no BS, like 20 scouts, 15 to 20 NBA scouts there to see him, and he was top 5.
When your old number wasn't working, I went through various channels to track you down. So unfortunately, you can never get away from me. But I'm happy to have you today.
No, thanks for having me. And you know we always family no matter where I'm at.
All is right with the basketball world. God's gift to the game of basketball, the Boston Celtics are back in the NBA Finals, baby. I don't think the Mavs did anything special. They played well enough to win and win pretty good. You know what I mean? Yeah. I thought the Celtics didn't show up to play at all, and maybe if they showed some fight in the second half, they would have lost by 15 or so. Is he in the Red Sox Team Hall of Fame?
He is also in the Red Sox Hall of Fame.
Something about this guy being in the Team Hall of Fame.
Yeah, it did. So,
deserved it, man.
Which seems like it fit.
Welcome to a special edition of the Doomsday Podcast. Look at this. We got one of the great golfers in the world, certainly one of the great pass rushers in NFL history.
But he also had a vision for you. And so it was like you had the best of both worlds, right? You had somebody on you early, and then you had somebody who was maybe
more relaxed.
What were a couple of your biggest takeaways?
The person you referred to that I spoke with, I've spoken to some personnel people and general managers of the league to get some, independent, objective assessments of the players the Cowboys picked, and we'll go through that.
Has the general manager changed at all in the draft for you?
Nope, it's been the same since I was here the last time.
We are Rogue Media Sports.